But football without fans is not. You play a football match without fans, you've got nothing. It can be the greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch, it becomes nothing.
And to Johnston. Johnson. And a ball by Johnson. Larson. Oh, he's in. Henrik Larsson. That is sensational. Nakamura. He has done it. Isn't that just typical?
The game is over. The Rebels have won. Champions, that's who we are.
How you doing? Good evening. Tuesday TikTok for the Jungle Jumps. What an absolute kick in the balls. Postecoglou has left. Now, we've just won a treble, our 8th treble in our history, record-breaking stuff. But that is not on the agenda for tonight, of course not. It's about the fallout from Ange leaving for Tottenham, which has been announced today. And the added rumours, if it couldn't get any worse, about him ripping out the furniture, which we will talk about as well. Surely we'll learn that mistake from Brendan Rodgers, the likes of Kennedy going as well. I'm glad we've got a full house. I know that Paddy is probably just having a wee shite. But
no, mate, I'm fucking raging. I'm getting the troops together. Let's go. London bound. Okay. Let's get them.
What an entrance. I'm glad we've got all of this today because we can get a variety of opinions. I guess some people are going to be pissed off. Some people will be looking at it, I don't know, pragmatically. And we've got the viewers as well to actually give us their perspective on things. Who wants to start us off tonight? Who wants to give us their thoughts?
Well, personally, I think it's...
No, on you go. I was just going to say, I'm feeling pretty kind of mellow about it, to be honest. So, if you have got a wee rant lined up, then when you go, man.
I was just going to say, personally, I think it's one of the bestest thing that's happened to this club in a long, long time. It's something we should be fucking proud of. We should be singing it from the rafters and making everybody in this league know who we are. We are treble-winning Celtic, record-breaking Celtic. That's all that should fucking matter. Go fuck yourself, Ange Postecoglou.
Okay. I'm getting it. Fuck. I guess your feelings will develop throughout this episode. Paddy, where are you?
I'll go young James first. He was ready to jump in.
No, mate, I was just going to say, I think I kind of prepared myself for it prior to the cup final. Looking at it from his point, obviously it's still a kick in the bollocks, of course it is. But looking at it from his point of view, I kind of understand it. I mean, the guys came here, he's arrived in Glasgow via Japan, Greece and Australia. No matter how many times he tries to claim it or he says something about when he was growing up, getting up in the middle of the night, he didn't have a connection to Celtic. I'm not going to say he didn't owe us anything because you could argue that we gave him his pathway to Europe, but he doesn't have a connection to Celtic. So from a purely football standpoint, I can understand it. I mean, like it or lump it, Spurs are one of the big six in England, rightly or wrongly. Obviously, they kind of don't really show it very often, but they are. So, I mean, it's only, 4 or 5 years ago that they were in a Champions League final, and I know they don't really win anything. They've probably got no chance of winning the league the way Man City's gone, but he'll probably back himself to get down there and get them back to another Champions League final, if no go one better. And to be fair, you probably wouldn't back against it. The only thing you'd back against, obviously, is their chairman, but unless they've had a change of heart. But I don't really care about Spurs. But from your point of view, as I say, I've been kind of prepared for it. From his side, and a footballing standpoint, I can understand it. As I say, he doesn't really owe us anything. He doesn't really have a connection to us. Even with, I know we spoke about it in the group chat as well, all the stuff he's come away with, obviously quoting Tommy Burns on Trophy Day, all the stuff about legacy, having a go in Europe and be surprised how long he's here. That's obviously the big one that's kind of sticking out for everybody. But I kind of learned the hard way with Rodgers. I took Rodgers at his word, so I think we've even said it on here. managers will say what they need to say to get themselves through an interview. Do you know what I mean? So I never really put a lot of weight behind these words. The one thing that does stick in my throat a wee bit is maybe the last kind of week or two. Anybody that believes that the first contact that Ange Postecoglou had with Spurs was yesterday morning, I've got some fucking magic beans I can sell you. I think it was 8:20 yesterday morning that it came out on Twitter that he'd agreed a deal verbally. Now, I'm sorry, I don't care who you are, but there is no chance you would agree in a deal in 20 minutes with the worst negotiator in football. It just doesn't happen. So, as much as I get that you can't come out and say, I'll finish a cup final and then go to Spurs, it was just in the lead up to it, all that. Well, somebody else was favourite last week, and they kind of, even after when he was getting interviewed on BBC or Viaplay, whatever it was, and he was saying about how somebody would need to drag him away in 24 or 48 hours and he was just going to enjoy the moment. I think at that point, everybody knew he was off anyway, but it just, that last week leaves a bit more of a sour taste in the mouth than anything for me. Through time, I still hold him in much, much higher regard than Rodgers. I still think he's more of a man than Rodgers ever was or ever will be. But as I say, footballing point of view, 100% I get it. But it's just that last kind of week or two that'll kind of stick in the craw. To me, it seems as if he's probably been tapped up. And I know it goes on in football, but it still leaves a bit of a sour taste in the mouth.
Paddy, I'm going to go, James, that was really well said. Paddy, I'm going to get your opinion now. Now, Ange came in, we were in a bit of a state, don't have to recount the situation, but Ange won the double in his first season. He brought us back to the top of Scottish football, and then he consolidated our position domestically with the second season, having won a treble. People were already speaking about Ange in legendary terms, whether you agree or disagree. So now we know that he's left. Do you harbour any ill will to him, or has he fulfilled his mandate?
It's a good question. I suppose you could say, if you're taking off the kind of angry heat or the emotional heat, he's definitely fulfilled his mandate, because 12-month rolling contract, his only job is to bring success within the season that he's in. He's certainly done that, and there's a reason why a lot of people are, I'll say emotional. Emotional is probably the right word. A lot of people are emotional tonight for a reason, and it's not because he was a piss poor manager who were delighted to see the backy. I would think that the majority are probably on the realms of gutted that he's gone. But these things happen. You're talking about Celtic. We all know how big the club is, how big the institution is, how worldwide, globally renowned we are. We know what we can do. We know what we can offer. We've got Champions League football next season, this and that. But as soon as the big boys come calling, unfortunately, it's the same as a player. You can't keep guys like Virgil van Dijk. So sometimes you can't keep managers like Ange Postecoglou who are delivering success after success after success. The only thing that's kind of annoying me a wee bit about it is the way it's been done. I'm not even going to say that it's on par with the way it panned out with Brendan Rodgers, but I was there outside Celtic Park to see the guys coming back with the trophies, and I was honestly, I had it set in my heart that Big Ange was going to walk out, drop the mic, give it the old Wolf of Wall Street, I ain't leaving. But no, he did not. He came out, literally says, thanks for coming, it's been a pleasure, great season, all the best. And that was it. See, as soon as the words left his mouth, mate, I knew he was off. I just knew he was off. So, listen, as what it is, it's a shame that he's gone. We knew it would happen one day. Didn't think it would be this early. But again, he's leaving after a treble. So we could be in a much, much worse place. And hopefully we having the squad that we've got, the kind of opportunities that we've got next season, Champions League football, that's going to be good stead for the next manager coming in. It's going to give the next manager coming in a bit more clout if we're going into the transfer market, because as we've said, it's easier to attract a better calibre of player if you can guarantee them Champions League, as opposed to going to please come here and try and help us get to the Champions League, because all that we can offer is Scottish football. And we all know how shite Scottish football is. We still love winning it. We still love what we do. But that's only because we have to do it, because we're stuck here. I would absolutely be delighted if we could get out of this shit pan league, because it's hoaching. It's absolutely hoaching. So, like, if you're Ange and you've got the chance to go and play Arsenal on the Monday instead of arseholes on the Monday that's going to sit and just camp out, it's a no-brainer. He's the kind of guy who enjoys a challenge. You know, you look at his age; he's 58. These types of clubs don't come calling for managers in Scotland. I think Gerrard was the exception because of his name, because of what he did as a player down in England. Obviously, Aston Villa came for him. But you need to hark back to the likes of Alec Ferguson, I think, for a manager taken for Scotland into a club with as big a kind of tradition or size, whatever you want to call it. So, as I say, it's not often that we get a manager who's been courted by a top 6, top 7 English team. And let's be honest, they're a big outfit, a massive new stadium, world-class stadium, a few world-class players there. And you look at that guy, Daniel Levy, I think he's authorised about £250 million worth of spending in the last 2 seasons or something. Do you know what I mean? So he will get the funds to spend, and it's definitely a rebuild job. It's something that he can get his teeth into. But nah, fuck it. It is what it is. Take John Kennedy, take whoever the fuck they want. Just let's get the new guy in. Let's no beat about the bush. No, let's not go for the cheap option. We were going to give Ange a fucking good contract. We were going to back him substantially. Give that to the new guy. Do not fuck this up. This appointment now is monumental. It's even bigger than Ange's appointment at the time, I think, because everybody now is going to have the knives out against us. They're going to think that we're there for the taking. They're going to think that Big Ange is shat it for fucking Ian Beale, all that crap that's going to come out. We've got a league to defend. We've got a league title to defend. We've got a Scottish Cup to defend. And we've got Europe to go and make an impact in next season. So let's hope that the board can pull the finger out. He's a wee bit of magic. I know McGinty's got absolute 100 million% faith in Peter Lawwell to pull something out the bag. But it's going to be an interesting week or two. But hopefully it's positive.
A lot of good points, Paddy. McGinty, obviously, it's the 4 of us tonight. We want to get everybody's opinion. Paddy does make one good point in that we've got a recruitment model where we bring in players from, say, lesser clubs. We develop them, improve them. And whenever like a bid comes in from whatever, an English team, we're almost, whenever we accept that, we're almost kind of proud to have developed them, and we send them off. Obviously, we get the big bucks, and some people will watch with interest to see how they develop in their future. But with Ange, it's a bit different. It's not a player, it's a manager. And of course, there's a bit of bitterness, which I'm not going to blame anyone for feeling like that, because you're entitled to have your own opinion. And so this is your moment to tell us how you feel.
Well, on that kind of subject of developing players, and you like to see them go down south if that's where they go. Personally, I'd rather see them going abroad and doing well. You do want to see that, and in the same breath, you want to see that with coaches and managers. Let's be brutally honest here. There's really not any great wealth of managers in Scottish football just now. There has in the past, and we could in the future, but for all intents and purposes, we don't create great footballing minds right now in the modern era. So I'm all for 2 to 3 years. A manager sticks around here. He does his job. We nurture the talent on and off they go. We should be a breeding ground for players, coaches and managers, and we should be looking at markets that allow us to get talent that is proving themselves at a slightly lower caliber than what we need, i.e. the Champions League, not Scottish League. Obviously, any monkey worth of salt should be able to do that job in the domestic scene. But we need something kind of like Yedila came from Norway. We're talking about Knutsen just now as well. The Germans do it with the Austrian league with Salzburg and Leipzig. They kind of cherry pick players and managers and coaches from each other. We should be doing similar with the Scandinavian countries where they have got a track record of producing good football brains and talents. Nurture them through here and give them that platform to go down south or further abroad where they can say, well, you've won a few more titles like Dialer did. You've won XYZ awards. You've proven yourself in a closer league to the English one. Then you can move down to it. It's what it should be. We're not going to get a manager to stick around for 5, 10, 15 years anymore. Those days are long gone. Long gone. And I'd rather see us take a punt on somebody who's won the Swedish league or the Danish league a couple of times than try some sort of half-assed assistant manager from Man City or a coach that's been stuck around for the last 15 years at the club and just gets promoted for the sake of being promoted. Let's just go out and get a talented manager who plays attractive attacking football, because that's what we've had the last 2 years, is what we deserve.
I'm laughing at the end of this comment here. In Europe, Ange with a monkey clashing cymbals. That is one hell of an image.
Well, you kind of see that every kind of couple of weeks in Scotland. Some big
You
do.
Usually come up to this time of year. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to say that I don't harbour any ill will towards Ange. I'm disappointed. I'm gutted. I'm worried about next season, and I'll explain why. And some people are glass half full, glass half empty. One thing that Ange said is, if you're not on board, then I'll get rid of you. And Ange wasn't on board. You know, he got an offer which he couldn't refuse, and he's left. So I don't blame Ange. You know what I mean? Every man has got their own ambition, their own destiny. And that was it's almost like the stars aligned. You know, we Tottenham getting knocked back from all these managers, and Ange, you know, eventually having ambition. Being a manager, like the game of being a manager is almost like snakes and ladders. If you look at like Graham Potter, James, you spoke about Graham Potter, how he took a Swedish team from the 4th division and he got them to the top, perhaps even into Europe. So he fucking moved mountains with that team. And then he got to Brighton and he did fantastically well. And then Chelsea came calling. And then all of a sudden he's at Chelsea and no matter what he does, it doesn't work. And now he's just went right back down to the bottom and he needs to rebuild his reputation. So as I said, snakes and ladders. And this opportunity for Tottenham came, well, we would say it came early in Ange's development, but he's been a manager for about 25 years. So he would say that it's not, and he's probably he's been very, very careful in his progress as a manager. He's done well in Australia, done well in Japan. He's fulfilled his mandate in Scotland, and now Tottenham come calling. So unless you're a Celtic fan with emotion, then if you're able to take a step back and zoom out, you're going to say, you know, it makes sense for him to do that. I don't harbour ill will, but I'm gutted. I'm worried about how the board are going to react. One thing I'm worried about is if we promised a war chest upon the credit in the bank that Ange had earned, if we promised a war chest to him, now that he's left and we bring in a new manager, are we kind of going to redact that promise? Are we going to kind of temper our ambitions because we don't know if we can quite trust this new manager? That's worrying. I'm also worried about the progress that Beale has made domestically as well. Now, people might scoff at that, but on a podcast, you're going to have different opinions, and that's how I feel. Rangers have made progress. Obviously, we had their number, but we had their number because of Ange. If you bring in a new manager, I don't think, with a different playing style, I think that it renders some of our players redundant in a sense. Maida, I think he could be one of the first to go. Rangers are getting better, and if we bring in a new manager, I'm worried about that transition. It can go well, it can go very fucking well, or it might go badly. If it goes badly, then it hands a bit of leverage to the rotten mob. So a lot to talk about. Is there any particular comments that you guys want to kind of break down and discuss? By the way, one thing I will say, I'm sorry, if somebody says that Ange went at the first opportunity, I disagree with that. Do you honestly think that Spurs were the first team to tap up Ange since he's been doing since he's been having success at Celtic. So I would disagree with that.
Well, just to go back on what you're saying, I genuinely think that Postecoglou would have been surprised that Spurs came in for him. I know there was rumours about Leeds and fucking whoever else, Southampton, whatever, doing in England. I can understand knocking that back because you know what, realistically, the style of football, it probably would get a team in the bottom half of England relegated. I honest to God think that he's been surprised that a team the size of Spurs, and I hate saying that because Spurs don't win anything, but they're still a big team in England. I genuinely think he's been surprised that Spurs have come in for him, and obviously jumped at the chance for different reasons. I think money would have obviously been a massive factor. I genuinely don't think it would have been the only one. As I seen in the comments area, I mean, he left Yokohama mid-season to come to us. As the comments say, they walked out in Brisbane Roar, and he left Australia just after they qualified for the World Cup as well. So I know what he said basically had his all eaten out the palm of his horn with everything that he said. But if you look through his career, he is selfish, and probably rightly so to an extent. As I say, he doesn't have any connection to Celtic. He's came here, he's done probably, well, definitely better than we all expected when he got appointed. So I'm gutted to see him go. And as I say, the new, obviously, because it is so fresh, we are still bitter. But I think through time, then he'll be welcome back. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think in kind of like 6 months' time we'll be sitting discussing him in the same way we talk about Rodgers. Is another one that I'm sure we'll come on to discuss as well.
I'd have to agree quite a bit with.
You know, you're entitled to your opinion. I disagree. I disagree about that. Judas, man. Calling him Judas. Ange's left us. When was the last time a manager left us in such a strong position? He left at the end of the season after winning a treble, and he acted professionally. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He defended us in the media. He spoke so well. I think what the thing about Ange is that emotional attachment that people have got, and if some people are wired that way to hate him in order to get over it, then fair enough. I just think that's not a great way to view life. I don't know. Sorry,
No, I
was just going to say I agree with pretty much everything that James is saying, and I'm probably just going to reiterate most of it and then just confuddle it with a lot of rambling shite for myself.
Me changing.
Yeah. You can't fault Ange for what he's done. He's done it in the most respectful way that he could. He tried not to make the attention about him leading up to the final. I get that. But inevitably, we can all read between the lines and we all get the rumours and we all understand what was happening in that final week. He clearly has been talking to Spurs all last week, if not longer. He's done as best he can. You can't fault him too much. A job like Spurs comes up. I don't think he thought he was in the running for that. I don't even think that he wanted out of Celtic per se. This is going down the conspiracy side of it, but I would wonder if something's happened during those talks at the start of mid-May, that's made him think, right, that's good, but I want a bit more from the club, or maybe something just wasn't right for him, so he wanted to maybe send his agent out there to drum up some interest and get himself some leverage to come back to the board and say, look, I've got this option, you might want to give me that 40 million rather than 30 million, or you might want to actually do that analysis room that you kind of half asked me about, but you wanted to. So kind of maybe something he was trying to push the board to do. But before he realised, his fucking agents went and spoke to Spurs, who've rejected, but 5 managers have rejected them, and he's suddenly popped up at the top end of the list and thought, oh, fuck, I actually need to take this serious. And when a job like Spurs comes up, even if that made up example rhetoric is, when a job like Spurs comes up, it's hard not to say aye to it, comparatively to where Celtic are in the world right now. And I know we don't want to talk about that, we don't want to admit it, But James is right. They are a bigger club in that sense, bigger league. He will naturally, if he does well, it can go down in the Spurs kind of history as an example like Pochettino. He then gets linked to your PSG jobs of the world, rather than just knew if he left Celtic without a Spurs attraction, he could end up at Southampton. So yep, it's hard to be harsh on him. But then at the same time, as you said, the boys as well, he's not been loyal anywhere. We all believed he's nonsense. We all believed Rodgers is nonsense. At least I see to wait until the end of the season and to try and keep it quiet. So, yeah, for me, he goes down as a Wim Janssen kind of manager, a cult hero, somebody who came in, played football the way it should be played, gave us exciting, entertaining football, winning football, and done us proud. I'm just sorry he didn't stick out for another season or two, because I thought he could have done so much more at this club. But he's chose to go to Spurs. He's chose that option for many, many reasons. I don't believe it's money, but it is what it is.
Right. Okay. Now, one thing that I'll say. Okay, let's talk about the rumours that apparently John Kennedy has told the board that he wants to join Ange. Now, I do feel a wee bit kind of annoyed at that, but again, you know, Kennedy has been around for forever at Parkhead, you know. If he wants to go, then because like there was a lot of rumours, like if he wanted to go to Hibs whenever they offered him the job, we would have wished him the best. We would have been disappointed he left, but we would have wished him the best. Maybe in the manner that Ange has left us, that we feel a wee bit betrayed about Kennedy wanting to go as well. What worries me is the fact that if Kennedy goes, the rumours is also that Gavin Strachan is going, and I think one of the analyst guys as well. We learned about it with Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers ripped out the furniture when he left, and we said that will not happen again. We'll get a structure in place. We bring in a new manager, and if the manager goes after that, then he goes. He doesn't rip out the furniture. And it looks like history is about to repeat itself. We saw it happen, but apparently the board hasn't learned from it. At the same time, what can you do to stop folk like that? I said in the group chat earlier, again, I think you might have disagreed with me, but, you know, like Kennedy, if he stayed, you know, if Ange goes, but he stays, if a new manager comes in, he might not fancy Kennedy being around, and he might say, well, I'll demote you, or you can get to fuck. So Kennedy might have a job for life, but it's not a job for life as the assistant manager or a coach with the first team. That's at the behest of the new manager coming in. So Kennedy is at risk. And if he wants to go, then fair enough. But I do feel a wee bit gutted that Kennedy's leaving. I'm gutted at the fact that history could be on the verge of repeating itself, where we've got fucking nobody to take control of the club. Who's going to be the new caretaker manager? That's what I'm gutted at. Has anybody got any opinions on that?
Well, this brings it back. You touched on it very, very briefly earlier as well, Gavin. I wanted to try and pick the point in, but this brings it back to we should have had a director of football in place. We got stung with Rodgers. We got very fucking lazy with Neil Lennon, and this is the worry that we've all got now, especially with Peter Lawwell being put back on the board. I know he's in a different job. I know people don't think he has that same power, but he's still Peter fucking Lawwell. He still has influence in there. I don't want to see us go lazy. We should have had the director of football in. We got wooed by Ange the same way we got wooed by Brendan, and history, as you said, is about to repeat itself. So we really should, even if it's Mark Lawwell, for fuck's sake, even if it's him, we need a consistency where somebody can turn around and say, this is what we're doing as a footballing department, and this is a style of football we're playing. And when the manager fucking leaves, we go get another manager already not sounded out, but already a list of managers that are going to fit our style, fit our way of thinking, and bring them out. Because if we can bring a manager in who plays a similar style, similar ethos, similar modern outlook to football, then you guys like Kyogo, Hatate, Jota all have a reason probably to stay. I know a lot of these guys came because of Ange, especially the Asian lads. Most of them might want to leave eventually, sooner rather than later, but they'll especially want to leave if the next manager comes in. It's going to be a donkey like Lennon, who's too busy eating chips and drinking beer by the poolside than rather than grow the players' development and have a kind of a fitness regime that's going to be suitable for an actual modern footballer. Footballers don't want to be partying it up like it's the 60s again. They want to be taking this shit seriously, and they want people to help them in their career. Bring a manager in who's going to do that shit. Bring a manager in who's going to play good football. Not Martin O'Neill. He's fucking 71, and for as much as I love the guy, he is the dinosaur that fucking Neil Lennon paints himself after. Fuck off, being Martin O'Neill, I'm afraid to say.
James, in fact, no, sorry. Go ahead, James. What were you going to say, mate?
No, I was just going to say, just to get back to what you touched on with regards to the board. I think it's probably harsh, to be honest, but I think that's possibly the one thing that you could level at the board, is that we never got a director of football in place. But then again, the flip side of that is, I mean, the last kind of 18 months or so, once Ange kind of get by that sticky patch at the first period, when he first came in, none of us were talking about a director of football. It just get put in the back burner. Ange was doing everything. He was signing players that he'd worked with in Japan, South Korea, basically all the world, Argentina. He was basically doing everything. he was doing everything. And again, something that we haven't really touched on is his comments about how he liked the idea of a 12-month rolling contract, and it gave him power over the board and stuff like that. We've been on here and we've said, that's really good, but we're thinking of that in terms of our board can be wankers at times. We've seen it in the past, so it's good that he holds that power over him. But then the flip side of that is Ange can just easily, and I'm not saying he has, well, I suppose arguably he has, he could just string them along as well, and then when he gets an offer, the negotiations are, the ball is probably, as much as he's got a contract, it's not as if it's a 3, 4, 5 year deal, and it makes it easier for him to go out as well. So I think if you were going to level anything at the board, then it would be the fact that they've not got a director of football in place whilst Ange was here. But then at the same time, I think Ange probably had the board eating out his horn as well. You could arguably actually feel sorry for the board through all this. I'm not saying that a day, but I think you could feel sorry for the board through all this.
I don't know, James, and the more you talk there, the more I think about it, the more I'm wondering, has our board just been lazy fuckers, and has Ange just said whatever they want to them to say? If you think about the key things, not all the key things, but some of the things that he said, is, we all came on to him and says, what's this with a 12-month contract? Are we not getting signed somebody who we can trust with a 3-year contract? And he came out and says, no, it's how I work. I wanted a 12-month as well. But he goes to Spurs and he signs a 2-year with a 3rd-year extension.
It's a 4-year deal.
Yeah, so and then we all said the same about Strachan and Kennedy. We says, look, he's getting these guys thrusted upon him. What the fuck's this shit? Why is he never bringing his own men around? And Turner says, no, it's how I work. I go solo. I go into these jobs myself, and I like to see what the characters are of these people, and I can bring them blah, 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 blah. He's now trying to take half the fucking backroom staff down the road with him. He's turned around and says all these good things, yet it's everything that our board has done before. Our board has insisted on 12-month contracts. Our board has insisted on Kennedy and Strachan for previous managers. He's accepted it, and yet he's went down to Spurs and he's doing the opposite of that. It's almost like at times, and I don't want to be too harsh on him, because inevitably he played great football and he was a great success at Celtic, so he's going to go down as a cult hero for me. But it almost does feel like he just told us what we needed or wanted to hear. But I think he was doing what the board told him to do as much as we didn't want him to believe it. And I think they took the lazy way out when they thought we don't need to put a director of football in because this guy's happy enough to do the legwork himself. It wasn't that he insisted on it, it's that we took the cheap. Yeah, we took the lazy option, not the cheap option, because we did back the guy. We took the lazy option by no signing a director of football and knew it's going to bite us back in the ass again.
Well, can I just take it off that train for a wee minute? Just while there's a lot of folk watching, so clearly Celtic are very off now. Candy Frosty, fucking watch it. So obviously, like, Celtic's going to be going through a period of transition. We're going to be looking for somebody new to come in. We're going to be requiring exciting new ideas and kind of elevating the team. And just to break it up for a wee minute or two, obviously we've been doing this podcast now for it'll be 2 seasons. So 2 years basically. We put a lot of time and effort into it. We've grew it from 0 to where it is now, and we're relatively pleased with the progress that we've done. We love the fact that we've got a continuous amount of people coming in and commenting, new faces, everybody watching, hundreds of thousands of views, whatever it is. So what we're going to do very, very soon, and I'll put the link up for this, we're going to start up another platform. So we're going to be jumping over to Patreon as well.
God damn it! Can you say that word properly? Patreon. Patreon.
Oh,
Patreon.
Potato. Right. Listen.
Potato.
All right, Patreon. Right, there you go. So we're going to be jumping over to Patreon. We'll start. Right, shop. Jumping over to Patreon. We're going to be starting up some fresh, exclusive content, stuff that we can't put onto YouTube for legal reasons. YouTube's just a cunt of a place. So this will be a platform where you have got the option to subscribe. There'll be, as I say, there'll be exclusive content. There'll be more kind of fan interactive content. I'll just put the link up for you now. That's at the bottom there. I'll leave that up for a wee minute. So as I say, we do put a lot of effort into what we've done so far and what we'll continue to do. We'll still continue with the YouTube platform as it is, but we will move on to this new setup that we're really looking forward to. Looking forward to get our teeth into it. So if you're interested, there's the link. Jump on. We'll be putting some new exciting news on the next coming days. So if you want to support us to keep doing what we're doing, as well as doing some even better stuff, there's the link there. For less than the price of a pint a month, you will get us for content that you won't see on YouTube. McGinty, you explain that. You're a tech guy.
Oh, let's get back to the football chat, please. Let's get back to the football chat. James, I want to ask you, are there any parts of Ange's playing style that you would like to retain? Is there some parts that you'd like to bin or slightly change? Like, for example, the we don't stop thing. Like throw in, free kick, we're getting the ball right back in play. Would you be gutted if we binned that, or do you think it's an asset that we should continue with?
No, I think we should obviously stick with it. I mean, the players that are there obviously fit that style. Obviously, we've seen that before. The names it's mentioned, I mean, we've seen guys like Moyes, obviously Martin O'Neill, as we've discussed. Steve Clark was mentioned. David Moyes, for instance, I think David Moyes is a great manager, but I would have him maybe on the CELTIC job, because we would literally be starting from square one again. The players obviously wouldn't fit the style. If we were going for a manager, then for me it has to be. I've seen people saying Kevin Muscat, because obviously he's at Yokohama, he's a disciple of Ange, and then there's the obvious kind of elephant in the room that comes with him. So I don't know if I'd like that. As I say, Moyes, I think, is a great manager. Obviously, a terrible job at Man United, but I wouldn't have him anywhere near the CELTIC job. For me, it's between two, and I think it's the two that's been mentioned in the comments quite a bit as well. It's Knutsen, whatever his name is, and Graham Potter. Graham Potter, for me, would be a similar type of appointment to Brendan Rodgers, in the sense that currently he's probably seen as damaged goods in England. So he'd come up here 2 or 3 years and then probably get a job back down south again. In terms of his Fitba, as I say, he took that, it was at Östersunds or something in Sweden. He took them for 4th, and he actually took them into the knockouts in Europe. I'm sure it was Arsenal that put them out, and I'm sure he actually ran Arsenal quite close. So he's got history, obviously being it in Europe, which would be ideal. And then the same obviously goes for that Knutsen guy, obviously putting us out. But I did read a thing on Twitter, and I'm not saying this is true by any stretch, I've absolutely got no idea. But I seen a thing on Twitter that says that Knutsen, he's been linked to pretty much every job in Europe, but he stays at Bodo Glimt. But apparently, so I read, on top of his salary, he gets 15 to 20% of player sales there, which is basically why he's still there, because he's linked with the Ajax job. But apparently, he could potentially still get paid more staying at Bodo and Norway. So I don't know, as I say, I took that with a massive pinch of salt, but it could explain, because any job that comes up, he seems to get mentioned with, yet he never actually seems to leave. So stop talking shite. The choices for me would be Knutsen or Potter, and for me, they would maybe when they play the same style, but they play a similar style to Ange.
The thing that confused me, I was confused about Knutsen. Sorry, Paddy, but I was confused about Knutsen. The fact that he did so well with like a team with such a shite budget, but the fact that nobody came in for him, he never moved on. I'm just a wee bit, I don't know, call it suspicious. I'm suspicious that he's still remaining there. Sorry, Paddy.
No, sorry, on you go, mate.
That was me.
Oh, is it? I think if you look at the candidates that's been mentioned now, right? So the reason that Knutsen has been mentioned and the reason that Enzo Maresca has been mentioned is the fact that your man Stephen McGowan, the reporter for the Mail, he specifically mentioned the two guys today. Anybody knows who he is? He's basically Peter Lawwell's guy in the media. I'm not saying that his word is gospel, but there clearly is going to be something to it. Now, Knutsen, fucking Cave, whatever his name is, Knutsen. Aye, you look at his style of football, and it's that kind of attacking, aggressive type of style that we're used to seeing. But you look at his track record as well. He's a guy who beat Jose Mourinho in back-to-back games, and he's also a guy that tactically out-thunk Big Ange when we played against them, when we were the high favourites to go and beat them. So you can see why he's been mentioned, but I don't think that will happen. There's talk about him going to Ajax. There's maybe talk about what James was talking, that he's got some sort of a contractual thing that wants to keep him there instead of going to all these clubs. But we'll never know, I suppose, unless he leaves, unless he comes to us, which I doubt. But I think the one that's more interesting, right, and I'm not advocating I want this guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Enzo Maresca is something that I think might possibly have some weight behind it, and I'll tell you why. Now, we were linked with this guy before Ange came in. Mm-hmm. He ended up at Parma, didn't go well for him, as we all know. If you don't know, it didn't go well to get the sack. But this guy has been with the City group. He's been in charge of the development squads at Man City for a few years now. Again, he left to go to Parma. He's now back at Man City, and he's the assistant manager to Pep Guardiola right now. And Saturday night, he will be the assistant manager in the Champions League final. The other thing that goes along with that is Mark Lawwell is he's the head honcho now for transfers. He worked closely with Maresca at Man City, so there's a link there. The same as we all know that there's a link between Ange and the City group whenever that came in. And that's been fruitful. Not one of us sat here when Ange Postecoglou walked in the door and went, wow, what an appointment. What an appointment. No, we were all basically, we were literally doing what a lot of the Spurs fans are doing now. They were going after nuts, saying, who the fuck's this guy? Ange Postecoglou, blah, 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 blah. We're guilty of snobbery as well in that respect. And I get it. I understand it. I was there myself. I said the exact same things. I think now we just need to trust the board. Somebody mentioned it earlier on in the comments. Excuse me, I never got a chance to put it up. But somebody says that Dermot Desmond is raging. And I 100% believe that. Look at what happened the last time that Dermot Desmond was raging. We reacted, and we reacted promptly. We get Brendan Rodgers in the door, and things changed on the turn of a fucking button. We ended up with success. Aye, we all know how it ended up with Rodgers. But I think now is the time, and I know McGinty really doesn't agree with me, but I think now is the time to sit and trust the board to do something, because I don't think... We've never been in this position. We've never been in the position. Every single time that we've needed a new manager, it's been a reactionary thing, but it's always came off the back of negativity, i.e. losing leagues, losing cup finals, losing this and that. This is still going to be a reactionary appointment, but only because the manager has left on good terms, i.e. the fact that we've won a domestic treble, we've won a double the year before that, we're into the Champions League again. It's going to be 2 years worth of Champions League money. I'm telling you right now, the board will not penny pinch on this one. If they were going to give Ange money, they will give the new guy money. I don't know if it will be the same amount. And I know Plunge is laughing, and I can hear myself. I can hear myself trying to laugh inside. I know when I'm saying it, but that's only because we've been bummed before. But Michael Nicholson hasn't let us down yet. The transfer guys haven't let us down yet. The manager never let us down. But all the guys were working in tandem. Just because Peter Lawwell's back in is in a kind of a part-time role, it doesn't mean to say that things are good doing the Swanee. It doesn't mean to say that Peter Lawwell chased them out. It doesn't mean to say that all this pish going about in social media the day that Ange's left because fucking we signed Scott Bain, blah, 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 blah. It's a totally different kettle of fish now. We are the holding champions in this country. We are world fucking breakers. We've won an 8th consecutive treble, domestic treble, won the League Cup, won the Scottish Cup, won the league. We're getting into the Champions League. This is a big draw for somebody coming in the door, and this is going to be a big draw, for players that want to come in and showcase their talents and possibly get that move on, because Celtic is now a stepping club, and there's nothing wrong with that because we use players, so there's no reason why players don't use us. You know what I mean? So I think everybody just needs to just rein it in a wee bit, just calm down. We're all emotional now because nobody wanted to see Big Ange go. He's gone. That's it. He means nothing to me now. I don't harbour any ill will to him as such. He can go and fuck himself because he doesn't manage Celtic. He's nothing to do with Celtic anymore. And that's my way with everybody that leaves Celtic. I'm a Celtic supporter. See, if you're not Celtic, I don't support you. I don't care about you. I care about this there. That's it. Nothing else. So we'll see what happens, guys. But I think we just all need to just chill out, man, and just see what's happening. Everything that we've been getting told is that the board are on it. They're going to get a new man in as soon as they can. It'll no be another Eddie Howe 6-month wait. It'll no be this and that. It'll no be fucking Neil Lennon getting appointed in the showers. So just.
But see, just to even touch on what you're saying there about the board, and I get, obviously, we've essentially got that direct link to the City Group and Mark Caldwell actually being officially at the club now. But when you're saying trust the board, the Rodgers thing, 100% I agree with you. Obviously, we went out and we got the best that was available at that time, probably within our reach. 100%. That was after back at Dermot Desmond, as everybody knows, kind of with the Rangers directors when they bet us at Hampden. But you could just as equally state a case to say that the board get extremely lucky with Postecoglou. I know we were chasing Eddie Howe, and look, Eddie Howe's done brilliant at Newcastle. Of course he has. Whether they've done well here, we'll never know, probably though. But we chased Eddie Howe for weeks, months, and then Eddie Howe dropped his like a bad habit, and within a day, Postecoglou was on the plane. And at the time, we were getting fed all this pish about Dom Mackay had basically been on a scouting mission when he was at Scotland Rugby, doing tours of Japan, and knew Ange well and all that rubbish. And it just was absolute nonsense. You could see right through it at the time. So for me, the board does get massively lucky there. And if you look prior to that, Ronnie Dyra probably, you would say, was a success. But for me, no, really. Brendan Rodgers is the outlier. Brendan Rodgers is the one, as we say. Dermot Desmond took the reins and just flung money at it, essentially. Neil Lennon twice. First time round, I felt as it went well, but realistically, Neil Lennon was a cheap option. And second time round, obviously, should never have got a job in the first place. But I mean, we're talking about Enzo Maresca. And 100%, I get where you're coming from with what you're saying. When Ange came in, everybody's gone Postecoglou and all that stuff. But the guy had, and I sound like a fucking idiot because I said the exact opposite when he came in. But the guy had managed that World Cup. He'd won things in Australia. He'd won things in Japan. He'd won things with Australia. He had a track record there. And as much as it was in Europe and we hadn't heard them and we didn't know anything about him, at least you could point at something and say, no, hold on, he might have a wee bit here. We'll give him a chance. And as he said himself, when he came in, we essentially lifted him up. We picked him up when everybody was giving him pelters. If we go out and sign, and I get what you're saying, he's Guardiola's assistant, but Guardiola's got about 45 assistants. The way I look at it, if Enzo Maresca wasn't good enough 2 years ago and we took Postecoglou, in that 2 years, he's had a massively failed stint at Parma. I don't know what the situation is at Parma in terms of like board and signings and all that stuff, but for outside looking in, he's had a failed stint at Parma and he's went back to be an assistant or a coach at Man City. If he wasn't good 2 years ago, what has he done in that 2-year spell that all of a sudden, now that we're as attractive a proposition as we'll ever be, we've got all 3 cups and we've got the Champions League group stage. Why is he good enough now? That's the way I look at it. And it's not even that Enzo Maresca, he hasn't got him you can point at and say, oh, he won this, he done that. No, he's a manager 6 weeks and gets sacked. So it just does not do it for me at all there. That's why I'd be looking for a Potter. For me, Graham Potter is probably the best available within our reach just now.
And what sense, mate? Because I know he's obviously had the success with Austerans, right? And he had a good bit of success, and I think it was a Europa League, wasn't it? I think he had a couple of good games against Man United. I think he beat them. But you look at him, right, and you look at what he done at Brighton, right? He done a great job at Brighton. But then they've then went and elevated that. The guy that they've got in to replace him has been outstanding. He's took that even farther than what Potter could do, right? And I'm not saying Potter's a bad manager, right? And I'm not saying I want Maresca or this and that. But Potter looked as if he aged about 10 years and 10 weeks at Chelsea. The guy looked as if he was ready to burst out greeting every single game. All the sound bites that was coming out was saying that the guy could not handle the big name atmosphere at Chelsea, couldn't handle the kind of player mentality and stuff like that. And then he's left and says that he needs a break for football. That's, unfortunately, that does not sound like a guy with a good mentality, the kind of guy that we need in the now. But I suppose you could turn around and say, well, look at Chris Sutton, he came for fucking diatribe at Chelsea and then end up a success. Of course it is. You could go and sign Zinedine Zidane, the news manager, and it will still be a gamble. You're no guaranteed anything with any manager. Of course, we need to get lucky to some degree. But I think it's all about how somebody slots into this new regime now, because we have got guys there that have got massive business acumen. I know McGinty hates him, but Peter Lawwell has got massive business acumen. Michael Nicholson has proved that he's ready to back the manager, because he is the CEO. He's the man. He runs the daily football stuff, and we've got Mark Lawwell, who's got a great CV basically, and he's got a lot of contacts. Again, this is all speculation. This is all fucking this and that. It's going to be about a week, I guess, and it's going to be a week of rumours. It's going to be a week of this guy and that one, and it just is what it is, mate. But I don't feel. I'm not sitting here shitting my pants. I'm sitting here exactly like Gav. I think it was you that said that, Gav. Sorry, or maybe it was somebody in the comments. I'm sitting here. Sorry, I'm sitting here now. Neil Lennon inbound. I guess what? You're fucking outbound, you cunt. No, listen. As I say, I'm looking forward to getting somebody in. I'm looking forward to getting somebody in exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do, elevate the team. It's a chance now. Yes, mate.
Someone has said Sam Allardyce, and I don't think he's the first person who said Sam Allardyce. I do remember you saying that in the group chat. Care to explain yourself?
I was being facetious. Well, I mean, if you listen to the guy, it was only a couple of weeks ago, he was sat in front of the press conference, and he's got more experience than Pep Guardiola, Mikel Arteta, all put together. So,
all right.
Nah, I'm always joking. Do you know the reason why I kind of sarcastically said Sam Allardyce is because you look at Ange's season this season, right? There's no denying the success that he's had. But look at Europe. Look at the European games, right? As much as we were good to look at on the eye, we were outdone by physicality. We were outdone by raw aggression. We were outdone a few times by the rotten mob with physicality and aggression. We were unable to cope with it, albeit there was still a couple of games where we managed to win the games. I know that's kind of counter-arguing it, but we lack some amount of aggression, and I would love to get a manager in who could instill that kind of raw physicality into some positions, i.e. the centre mid. I still think we need that kind of bully there.
Kevin Muscat then, aye?
No, he's just a baldy fucking
McCarthy?
Pardon? What's David Martin up to?
McGinty. Aye.
What?
Some of the names. Are you with us?
I'm here.
Some of the names that are getting flung about. Okay, Iraola, who was in charge of Real Valladolid, if I can pronounce that right.
That Areola guy?
The Iraola guy, yes. You've got
The
Jesse
headlines
Marsh,
write themselves.
Brendan Rodgers, David Moyes, Maresca, Potter, Steve Clark, Knutsen. There might be one or two which I've missed out, but I think those are some of the names that have been thrown about. Is that who would be your pick of the bunch?
None of that lot. If I could, I don't. Probably Knutsen, to be honest. Of that list, probably Knutsen. He's the one that we know more about than any of the rest of them, aside from maybe like obviously Rodgers and Potter. But I don't think people want Rodgers back, but a large amount of people would accept. Of the list, Knutsen. But I would like to see us go for something left field again. Look at how we got Ange. Well, not how we got Ange, but look at Ange, as the guys have been saying earlier on as well. He's had something in Australia and Japan and at the World Cup. He had something to point at and say things. And that's what I want to see us do. And that's what I was meaning by looking to the Scandinavian leagues again. There's managers in Scandinavia who are winning things that can come to Scotland and continue that trajectory of their own career. I was actually quite for Enzo Maresca 2 years ago. I like the idea of nurturing talent across the board, but realistically, no. I've now been spoiled with Ange. I now know that we can actually get the level of manager such as Brendan Rodgers, such as Ange Postecoglou, who's came from far field but had a CV that none of us knew about until he showed up on our shores. That kind of guy has to be out there again. Maybe a guy from Asia, maybe a guy from South America, maybe a guy from the far-flung reaches of Europe. I don't know. But there has to be other managers out there of that caliber, of that standing. Because Enzo Maresca now, as much as I have to assume that Man City have plans for him long-term, which if they're keeping tabs on him and wanting to do something, that says something. Needs somebody with a bit of a track record who knows how to hit the ground running and knows how to do things. So, of the list, Gavin, Knutsen, he's the one that I would say has the most about him.
I think it's short-sighted for people to go back to what we know, or just to go for the names that we know about. See, whenever you talk about the footballers, a lot of the footballers that we sign, we've never heard of until they join Celtic. And why should that be any different for managers? Whenever we think of managers, like, we only know what we know, what the headlines tell us, the people who are doing well in the UK, or a couple of people European-wise. But there's plenty of people who we've not heard of who are probably doing very well across the world. Obviously, Postecoglou, the majority of us never knew about Postecoglou until he signed. And even going back to that fucking Wim Jansen. Now, I was like a boy whenever Wim Jansen signed for us, but I know that he'd won something with Feyenoord, I think, as a manager. But so he was probably relatively known on the European scene. But there's probably a lot of managers out there that we just don't know about. My point is, it's kind of short-sighted to be focused on the list that the media have drawn up, So I'm at this moment, I'm not too worried about it. I'll let the board do their due diligence. But if they go for like a Brendan Rodgers, or even a Maresca does give me the fear, I know that he's still young, but he's not really had any managerial experience. The short stint that he does have, it was a fucking car crash. So by the way, David Moyes, by the way, I hope he does really well tomorrow night for West Ham. But David Moyes' style, he's proven over a period of time that David Moyes doesn't have the playing style or the authority with players, that presence that I would want at Parkhead. So no. Paddy and McGinney, what we're talking, I asked James, is there any part of Ange's playing style that you would like to retain? I felt that we kind of skirted over it, but we've really enjoyed that kind of we don't stop in terms of the set pieces in that. And I'm going to reiterate it. And even from the pass and out from the back, is there anything that Ange's style that you would change, that you would continue?
Who wants to go?
I would keep not so much the quick throw-ins and free kicks and stuff. That's good. That's nice, but that comes with the tempo. But I would keep this aggression that we've got in closing the opponents down and being able to turn the play over and go quickly back into an attack. I got so fucking bored of possession for the sake of possession under Rodgers. Something that Lennon thought he could just mimic and copy because he thought John Kennedy was going to just save his ass and give him an easy job. It backfired because if you don't actually have the players and the gumption to know what to do once you've got possession, then possession for the sake of possession is fucking pointless. Other teams are going to happily let us keep the ball. We saw that in Europe under Rodgers as well. Teams were happy to let us have the ball and they would aggressively get in our face, nick the ball, and score some goals for themselves. We saw the slight difference in it, although we never got the results, and this is why I want to see Ange stay another year. But you saw the positivity in it against the likes of Real Madrid. We actually took the game to play to these teams. I want to see that again. I want to see us take the game to people. I don't want us standing off in these big games thinking we'll wait for the possession to come our way and we'll wait for them to tie out. Just get in their faces. I love that aspect of Ange's team, and I hope we keep that. However, defensively, and I got used to it after a while, but see the inverted wingers, inverted fullbacks, we need to be smarter with that. If we're going to get a manager in who keeps that option going, okay, but we need to be smarter defensively because sometimes that just left gaping big holes.
Can I just come back on that? I think we are smart with it. So I think like we get caught out in Europe, especially Bodo Glimt, we really get caught out with that. But see, Greg Taylor. So I think someone said Greg Taylor done very, very well with inverted fullback. So I would want to continue that, but you only continue if the manager has a good knowledge base about how that works, the pros and cons of it. It works well with Greg Taylor, but with Alistair Johnson, I don't think he's suited to it. So it's very, very rare that you see Alistair Johnson drifting into the midfield. I think Postecoglou utilised it well. Greg Taylor did it because he's good at it, whereas Johnson would just stay on the right flank. I don't think we overused it. I think we refined it over time. So, but again, like that was a good thing. But if a new manager's going to do it, then he can only do it if he knows it in and out. If it's something brand new to him, then no, drop it entirely because that would be disaster. Another thing I would like to see is with the fast free kicks. I love doing that. And like you saw how it caught out the Rotten Mob a couple of times, like in that 4-0 game at Parkhead. And whenever Jota scored, we took a fast free kick. O'Reilly plays in Jota lifts it over the keeper's head, and then the Jota header against them in the semi-final at Hampden. They all stopped because they thought a free kick was going to get blown, but we kept on playing. Maida crosses it in, Jota scores. That's it, game done. So that's characteristics of Postecoglou style, which I would like to continue. The other thing is playing out from the back. I know that the most overused pass combination was Cameron Carter-Vickers and Starfelt, but to be honest, even the Rotten Mob, whenever they tried to press as much as they can, that did frustrate them. If we stuck to our principles, eventually we would grind out a result against them. Apart from the 4-0 game, we beat them 1-0, 3-2, 2-1. We ground out results, and although there was obvious flaws with that passing out from the back, it did still work for us. So, and I know it gave us the fear. Fucking hell, it gave everybody the fear, whether you're watching it in the ground or on your armchair. But that is something about the playing style, which it did have its redeeming qualities. If we're going to change that, what we're going to do? Lump up the park to Kyogo? Fucking hell, that's one way that Kyogo is going to hasten his departure from Celtic. If we start just lobbing balls up to him, does that mean
there's a perfect comment for Frank? Whatever else happens with the new guy, but for sure, he's not playing Ange ball in any shape or form, and why would he? When his name is no Ange, for fuck's sake. Aye, absolutely right. Listen, we can all sit here and we can all wax lyrical about how good Ange's style, Ange's philosophy was. But there was obviously there was flaws in it, right? For everything good that he did, he's no perfect. He's no fucking a magician, can't have everything all perfect, but there was flaws in it. And some of the biggest flaws for me was the fact that we've got the fucking tiniest team out. We're no physical enough. We get battered off the ball. We don't score a lot of corners. We're not that great at fucking defending corners either. So there's definitely something there that we need to change, and we need to bring in bigger, stronger, better, faster guys. That's what fucked us up against Shakhtar. Shakhtar just fucking turned on the accelerator. Mudryk flew by us. We had no chance. We had nobody that could defend it. As I say, there's been games against the Rotten Mob where they've basically overpowered us, and it's not for the first time. Would they say that as well? We have kind of struggled this season in games, but just because of that mentality that we've had in the squad, we've ground it out. We've done what winners do. They grind out wins. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But for the most part, it's worked for us. We need to start. We need to be more powerful, right? We've all grew up with football, Martin O'Neill's era, this and that. With big, strong guys, big defenders that defend. Look at Carter Vickers. Carter Vickers, fuck off you. Carter Vickers is as strong as an ox, right? We need more of that in the team. We need it in midfield and we need it up front. As great as Kyogo is, a fucking bit of wind can blow him all, do you know what I mean? He couldn't even lift the fucking trophy for fuck's sake last week. Defenders love playing against him in that respect. But I would just like to see a wee bit of a change up. I get that we're all going to be missing Ange's style. I get people want somebody just to slot in and continue on, but I think now's the time that we look at things and just say, right, this is where the manager was going great. The manager's gone. That's out the window. That's irrespective. But this is the team that's still here. This is the way the team can play, and this is how we need to evolve the team, because all the talk for Ange is we need to make the team better every single year. So nothing's changed in that respect, regardless of whether Ange is here or no. We need to be bigger, we need to be better, and we need to be stronger, and we need to be far more savvy on the ball when it comes to Europe, because we can't go gung-ho. We can't just play the one way all the time. We need to be smart enough to know when we need to change it and go defensive, when we need to kind of see out wins. We've not done that in Europe under Ange, so hopefully there is a wee bit of change somewhere.
Do any of you guys suspect that Ange is likely to rate any of our players?
I don't think so.
One or two, maybe.
I think there's three potentially, but I'm not sure that all three of them would. I don't think it will be Kyogo. I think it could be the two wingers in Jota and potentially a Bada. But the main one for me, I think he might come in for Hatate. I think Hatate could do it.
I think
as in Hatate could play there. Yeah.
I think Hatate can do it in England, but I don't think it'd be a Spurs. I've heard that Brighton is interested. I think Abada, who's not good enough to start for Celtic, I don't think he would be then good enough to start for Tottenham. And Kyogo, we love Kyogo, but I think physicality-wise, he's just not strong enough to hold the ball up. And Spurs, I think they kind of play with like one man up front. Spurs to replace Harry Kane, it's laughable, Paddy, 100%. Agree. Team's too small. 5 out of our last games against the Rotten Mob came from set pieces. Yeah, that's something. You even heard it. That I think that's one thing that you could probably level at Ange. I don't know if he said that or somebody else said that we don't practice set pieces. In fact, maybe I'm.
They're one of the guys commenting the exact same thing that you're talking about.
To not practice set pieces, I think there's a stat going about that. Like goals, all goals in the game derive from 40% of set pieces. Probably phrased that wrongly. 40% set pieces contribute to 40% of all goals. There, I think I got it that time. You need to get fucking streetwise. You know what I mean? Like if you want to progress, and think of Martin O'Neill. One of Martin O'Neill's greatest strengths was the set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Giants in the box. We don't go for that.
And see if you look at defenders now, right? Defenders, as far as I'm concerned, excuse me, defenders on the programmed to defend anymore. They're programmed to get possession and start off attacks. So it's like being able to pass the ball first and defend second. It's all wrong. I think it's all backwards. And what more does a centre forward or a striker hate coming up against a big, horrible, fucking ugly big centre back like Big Bobo Balde, Carter Vickers, even though he's no ugly, but you know what I mean? They hate it. They absolutely hate it. So there needs to be some sort of balance. A defender hates coming up against a big centre forward, I know. So again, as I say, a lot of centre backs now are more inclined to be ball players. So you always miss a big centre forward guy, somebody that can ruffle up the feathers. Giakoumakis done it a lot of times for us, and a lot of times when we needed it, when we required it. And he didn't get played because he obviously wanted to go with Kyogo, which is that's his prerogative. He was a manager. But we do miss people like Giakoumakis. We miss people like Wanyama. We've got Carter Vickers there. Imagine how shite we would be without Carter Vickers and his strength and his aggression, his controlled aggression. We need that in more players. We don't have Alistair Johnson. Alistair Johnson is the perfect example of how much we still need that in the game now. Aggression, drive, fucking that person that's just going to put their body on the line and go through tackles, go through the man to go and win the ball. Look at how much an impact that boy's made. We need more of that in the team.
Aye, I'd agree with that. See, I'm not going to sit and fucking rubbish Ange's time here. Look, Ange's time here is probably some of the best football I've seen at Celtic in a long, long time. I'd probably still hold him up there as, dare I say, probably be my favourite manager. Maybe through time that will change, hopefully. But as we sit and talk now, the football we've watched for the last 2 years, on the main, it's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, last week, Paddy, you were sitting here talking about the Real Madrid game in pure glowing terms, and we get spanked 3-0.
Yep.
So I think, obviously, there is a wee bit of bitterness coming in to Lois and what we're saying. I think Ange Ball was different class. It was fantastic. For me, and I agree with exactly what you've said, the one thing, more so for Europe, look, the stuff about the Rangers games and all that, we won the games that mattered. In the semi-final last year, we won the games that mattered. See if you're no scoring for a corner, or you're scoring for a quick free kick, or they're scoring for a corner. See if you win. What does it matter? Do you know what I mean? Like the games we had to win, he won, and he done it his way. There was the game at Ibrox is the one that springs to mind last year, the 2-1 game. The second half of that game totally changed the style, shut up shop, and it showed that he could do it, and he did do it to an extent as well in the semi-final this year. Second half, we had the lead and we just shut up shop and we soaked it up. At the time, you thought it was a bit backs to the wall, but watching it back, they didn't have that many chances. So I think there is a couple of strings to his bow. I don't think it'd be fair to say there isn't. And I'm not going to sit and badmouth him, but if we were having this conversation and he was still here as manager, I would be saying, for getting into the Champions League, and we say that a million times before, a physical midfielder. I don't necessarily think you need a physical striker. I mean, you've seen like that fucking big Diddy at Man United, the Dutch guy that's names went right out of my head. That is essentially what he is. He's the for defenders and get high balls, win the ball for corners, free kicks and stuff like that. He's absolutely shite. So Kyogo is always and was always our number one striker. If he was still here and we're moving into next year, then maybe a wee bit more physicality. I said I'd like to replace Starfelt. I still probably stand by that. I'd like to move him onto the bench. And a holding midfielder. A holding midfielder for me is massive. I'm not saying we're on any of these teams' levels, but if you look across Europe at like Man City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, they've all got that kind of big holding midfielder, and it lets the rest of the team play. And as good as Callum McGregor is, he isn't that type of player. For me, he's still better going forward on the front foot. So whatever manager comes in, we're always going to compare him to Ange just naturally. Obviously, of course we will. But whoever comes in, they're going to have their own style. They're not going to come in and the board isn't going to sit them down and be like, look, we used to take free kicks and goal kicks really quickly. They're going to keep doing that. They're going to come in with their own men and do their own styles. So,
for fuck's sake, that poor guy's been asking for a wave for like 10 minutes. That's better.
So, whoever comes in, he'll play their own style. We'll compare it. If he was still here, then I would agree with you, Paddy. A bit more physicality is what we'd be looking for, especially for Europe.
Again, mate, I'm not necessarily saying that we should limit it to like a big target man or this and that, but you do look back at the games and you can see where we needed to change it a wee bit. We needed somebody in there to get in it about the rough and tumble. So somebody mentioned it there. Where is it? John Brown, athletic, not physical. So that's what I would be more inclined to be looking for. And somebody like another couple of Alistair Johnsons and a couple of Carter Vickers, one in the midfield, one up front, and God forbid, one at left back. And I think they guys they'll do the dirty work and let guys like McGregor, Hatate, Jota go and deal with the fancy stuff, the stuff that gets people off the bums, gets bums off the seats. Sorry, as you said, every single top team's got them. Your Man United's have got Casemiro, Real Madrid before that, obviously, Kante at Chelsea, Rodri at Man City. The physicality element is still required in football, regardless of how much it does a bit fine of me.
No, well, I've just seen McGinty's get horns, so that rules that out.
He's better at handling balls as well.
That's a good question. Should we continue to play a 4-3-3? Depends
who the manager is, depends who the players that wants to play. I would love to go back to 4-4-2, but hey, that's dinosaur stuff now, apparently.
I think in modern football.
Yeah, Gav, I would like to keep 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, some sort of variation of that. I think it lends really well to the kind of fast attacking football when we get there, and it would make sense that most of these players can. It would make sense that most of these players can play that kind of system of formation. I was just thinking though, when we talk about the kind of players that we may need, I honestly think Ange was only 2 or 3 signings away from being able to crack the Champions League. Not obviously go to the semi-finals or anything like that, but get some respectable results out of it. If you could have had an Alistair Johnson on the left, say Kieran Tierney, and another Carter Vickers next to Carter Vickers, say Virgil van Dijk. I pick those two names obviously because they're two high caliber players, but they've been in our club. If we can get a backline that looked like that combination of those four, with the key midfield that we have of McGregor, Hatate, and an on form O'Reilly, I think you've got something there to say you can go toe to toe with some of these teams and get a result at times. It's not that far off it, and for me, that's more reason to stick to a 4-3-3 or as close to it as possible, and a manager who plays a somewhat similar style, because we can just continue this pathway rather than starting all again, playing a 4-4-2, going for the brute force approach, going for the long ball approach, which has its place in any team. But we don't want to start again when we're so close, I believe, to being able to do something good.
I think if we overhaul the playing style and the formation potentially, then it can make some players, some players really, really thrived on our style of play. I think nobody benefited more than Kyogo. If you look at the amount of finishes that he had within the box, a lot of kind of tap-ins, every now and again, he might have to kind of collect the ball, chop, and then score, but a lot of them were first touch finishes. If we were to change our style, which stopped that type of service coming in from the wings, then he wouldn't look the type of player he has looked for the past 2 years. I think we need to be careful of that. I do think that Maeda, I've just got this feeling. Look, we've always debated Maeda about his effectiveness. He's not a winger, he's a centre forward. He's played as a centre forward in Japan and for Japan, but whereas Ange would play him as a left forward, I think that he'll be one of the casualties, unless the new manager wants to play him as a centre forward, which we probably wouldn't want to. But I think he'll get frustrated. Jota, Jota's like our chief creator, so he'll definitely be given a shot. Who else do I think might be a casualty?
I think O'Reilly might be getting quoted, guys like that. But see as successful as like your Abadas have been and your Maedas have been, and I think Maeda's still got a bit to offer, but like as a bit better player, somebody that you can fling on towards the end of a game when players are knackered. I think if you look at Abada, the boys have obviously got qualities, but he's not a quality player. He's no nailed down to kind of one position. He's not a winger, not a forward, not a number 10, anything like that. I think we need to be specific with some players that's coming in. We need a right winger, whether that's a left-footed guy cutting inside. We need a proper right winger. I think we need. I definitely think we need another left back. You saw with the Real Madrid game, James. Harking back to that, every single he was targeted, right. And I think it was because of his height. Don't get me wrong, I think he done reasonably well, but it was definitely targeted. And we just need somebody there that's going to nullify midfielders. I know I hate harking back to the rotten mob, right? But they've been overpowering us in midfield. They've been dropping an extra guy in to try and win the game in the midfield. And a lot of the times we've kind of struggled to kind of nullify them when they get the ball in to start playing. We've won games. I'm not fucking going to decry that. I'm not going to moan about that. We've won the games, but there was definitely a trend there in the last maybe 3 or 4 games against them where we were really lacking against them, and that much showed. We need somebody in there, mate, to break it up. We need somebody in there that can win the ball, put the fear of God into midfielders, and put the stamp of authority into it and say, by the way, listen, you's only winning this midfield. I'll do you. McGregor, you David, you're doing, mate. You batter in. You be the dictating player, the playmaker. But I'll be the guy that fucking reinforces you.
Are you saying that we need like a bit of a player who can be a dickhead and can play a bit as well?
Oh, massively. There's too many nice people on this team. And I'm not slagging the Japanese boys or anything like that, but something that really fucking pisses me off is see when Kyogo, for talking shit, Kyogo fouls a player, then the next minute he's all, oh, you okay? Try to pull them up. No, if you're going to do somebody, fucking do them and leave them lying in the flare in a crippled heap. That's what football's all about. It's the same in Obi Hatati. Oh, you okay? No, fuck off. I meant to foul him. I meant to go through him. I mean, the only one that does that, the only two that does that for me, is Carter Vickers and Alistair Johnson. I honestly think that the impact that Alistair Johnson has made into this team has been a godsend, because even Juranovic, to a certain extent, was being overpowered. He was a good wee player. I liked him. I'm not missing him. I really don't miss him because Alistair Johnson has come in. And Alistair Johnson has shown that kind of controlled aggression that you need to have in football, because it's still a physical game. As much as it's evolving and they're trying to remove all the headers for the game, stuff like that, they're trying to clamp it down with the VAR, this and that, you still need to have a few nasty players. But Man United would never ever been the team that they were without Roy Keane, for talking sake. Kante's probably your best example. He doesn't even need to go through players, but he just reads the ball that well. He's like 5'2" or something, and he can still hold off the players. Luka Modric, the game at Real Madrid again, I'm harking back to that. Same again, he's about 5'8", maybe, I don't know. He was fucking about 50, and he was still using strength, still beating players, still fucking bouncing guys off him, twice the size of him. So it doesn't even need to be about the size, but it needs to be about the heart, and somebody that's going to be there and put everything through it to not let a team come forward. That's what football's all about. That's what they talk about with the old adage of winning the game in the midfield. You can pass it about as nice as you want, but other teams going to still take the ball off you or try and take the ball off you. So you need somebody there that's the shield, somebody that's not going to let them do that. Busquets used to do it for Barcelona for years. Puyol was still there, fucking running through guys, you know what I mean?
Aye, he was a defence. I was thinking that you said that Man U weren't the same team after Roy Keane. I think a few years after Roy Keane left, Man U ended up winning the European Cup again.
I'm saying Man United. I'm saying Man United wouldn't have been the team that they were without Roy Keane. Sorry, pardon.
Yeah. I think for that time and era, they definitely needed a Roy Keane, and I thought a lot of teams had their own equivalent, albeit not as effective as Roy Keane. I think whenever if I was to label it a dickhead who can play a bit, I think more the onus on who can play a bit. But I think somebody spoke about it, athleticism. We need more athleticism in the team. People that matter.
So sorry, mate, for butting in, but there's the name that I fucking totally left out. Scott Brun. Look at the influence he had on games by being that fucking cartoon villain, by being that guy that would fucking wind up opponents, get fucking Morelos sent off just by winding them up. That you still need that in football. You still need that aggression. You still need that kid, if you want to call it that. We're too nice. We're too lightweight. We're too fancy.
Yeah.
Brian McGregor. Callum McGregor has been the one that's trying to be the kind of Swiss Army knife player. He's trying to be the guy that's going to get in for the lunging tackles. He's trying to shield the ball. He's trying to dictate the play. Can he do it all himself? I need somebody there to do it. Sorry for cutting you off, mate.
No, you're right. I think there's merit to what you say. You do need people with that attitude. They don't need to be a butcher, but they do need to have that attitude. James spoken about a lot of shit tonight, but again, it's a meaty subject, shall we say? Any thoughts of yourself?
No, I just agree with what you have said. I think I said it last year as well. See, for me in Europe, see if you probably take O'Reilly and stick in a Scott Brown or a Wanyama and play Hatate and McGregor in front of him. I think for me, it's totally different results in Europe. Maybe we'd never get through or anything, but I think we'd have definitely picked up more points. I think it's what we've been crying out for. As I say, I would have said that if he was still here, but onwards and upwards. But that's the thing, though, innit? I think regardless of who we appoint now, I think we're all on a downer. So I think, we could fucking point Zidane the more, and it's going to feel like a downgrade, innit, realistically. Especially with the names that's mentioned. As I say, Graham Potter for me is the man, or that Knutsen, but for me it would still be a downgrade in Postecoglou, but obviously he's made his bed, so onwards and upwards.
Well, there's a good point there for Emerald abroad. What would be the best way for a manager to leave? The Ange way, Rodgers way, sacking? I can't think of a good way for a successful manager to leave. Excuse me, O'Neill accepted for compassionate reasons, of course. I do think that if it wasn't for the fact that I think Ange was a bit secretive and doing stuff in the background, but again, that's speculation. That's just my opinion, of course. I think if you were to turn around and say, listen, after the 10-0 season, you'll get a guy coming in, he'll pull it back, he'll win the league in his first year, he'll win a trophy. Then the next year, he'll better that by winning a treble, and a historic treble like that, and then leave. And you'll maybe get the £5 million rumoured compensation that we're supposedly getting. I think on paper, if you looked at it like that and says, by the way, that's a result, that is a fucking result. Do you know what I mean? But it ties in. It ties in exactly what you're saying, James. We are on a bit of a downer because we've lost the guy who's brought us success. But there's a flip side with it. Nobody's going to come looking for them if he didn't bring success. You know what I mean? So it's a double-edged sword.
We have METHOD man McGregor, but we also need Dirty Bastard from the Wu-Tang Clan to protect your neck, motherfucker.
I think that was Method Man, Gav.
METHOD man?
Aye, Method.
That's how you spell method, METHOD.
Sorry, I've just wondered why you were spelling it.
That's his signature tune by the Method Man.
Oh, sorry, I don't know.
No worries, mate. Right, okay. Sorry.
Do you know, it's just an absolute shame. Like James, obviously you weren't involved with us at this point. But see, last season, myself, Gav, McGinty, Dasbo, all the guys at CSP, Dale, everybody finished off that season on such a high. This season's been even better, and it's like a fucking punch in the gut. No, I mean, it's just went from there to there in a matter of hours. So it's amazing how much this has put a damp squib on such a historic season for us.
Just to get back to the comment about managers leaving and all that, I get, like, if he came out and said, look, I'm going to go to Spurs after the cup final, I get that would have been doing like a pun of shite, I know, but it was just the way, like, obviously quoting Tommy Burns on the park, and I know that obviously has an inclination that he's going to stay, but then it was the quotes to the media about there was a different favourite last week, wasn't there? And then, so I'm going to enjoy this and somebody will need to drag me away. Like, it left us in kind of limbo. And I get at that point, I think it's fucking fairly safe to say there would have been contact for Spurs, but there wouldn't have been official contact for Spurs. So at that point, he can't really come out and reject a job that he's not been offered yet. So I kind of get it for that side as well, but it just kind of feels as if we've been strung along for the last kind of week or two by him, which is a bit of a kick in the bollocks, but I can understand it as well at the same time, but I think he could have probably dealt with it a wee bit better in terms of how he spoke to the media, and obviously that's what gets through to us as well. I think that could have been a wee bit different.
I don't blame him for keeping that poker face, for the last week, because obviously he'd been tapped up. He wanted to speak to Spurs. He couldn't announce it until it was official. But we had games to play, and he was still a Celtic employee. So he can't. What's he going to say in the press conference? Like, look, I'm the Celtic manager, but I want to go. I want to explore this opportunity. He's going to keep stewing and operate in the background, and that's what happened. I know people don't like that, but what else are you going to do? Charles is saying Ange handled it as we fellas could. What is he supposed as
well as
he could? Sorry, I thought you were calling him a wee fella. I'm like being dyslexic here.
It's actually WELLAS.
What is he supposed to say? Just don't fall in love with managers in the future. And that's the thing, we get like, once bitten, twice as shy, So Rodgers fucked us. Ange is, I wouldn't say fucked us, but he's disappointed us. What's the lessons to be learned from that? In football, as football fans, it's all about emotion. So what are you going to say? I'm not going to get emotional again about football as a Celtic fan because we've been done twice over now. I don't think that's the solution. I think you need to look at it from a point of view of these things happen. We enjoy the highs, and we got to take the lows as well. If you don't do that, then you're going to blank out entirely, and you're not going to be a proper football fan. It's all about the emotion. It's disappointing as fuck, but the only way to avoid that is to kind of not be fully in as a Celtic fan. Yeah. And I don't think that's a compromise I'd ever make. I'm always fully in as a Celtic fan, and what's the biggest heartbreak as a Celtic fan recently? In our lifetime, Seville. Henrik Larsson leaving. Henrik Larsson was an absolute legend. When he left, it was disappointing. It was heartbreaking. He came back and he scored against us, But that's the highs and lows. That's the roller coaster that you need to experience as a football fan. That's why we kind of love it.
No, I know. You get people saying, don't get too emotionally attached to a manager or a player. You can't help it because that's what we're here for. We're emotionally attached to the sport. We're emotionally attached to the game, to the club. That's what you do. These guys, as much as it's never a phrase I'd ever heard myself saying, these guys are in your thoughts 24 hours a day. If you're a Celtic supporter, do you know what I mean? If you're not going to be passionate about it, then you turn into a Man City supporter. James, you were telling us a new story, weren't you, about going down there at a Champions League game or something to get the semis, and it was like fucking a testimonial. You don't want that. That's not what you want. You want to go to the football at the end of a hard week's graft and release all the emotions and see your team winning. You want to moan about it when they've not done as well. You want to take your wains and see their wee faces all light up when their favourite players are running about, and then you can come on to the Jungle Gyms on the new Patreon site and moan about whatever he's wanting. Patreon, sorry, my apologies.
No, it's PATR. Nah, right. Let me just fling a couple of names at you then. Just a simple yes or no to the both of these then. Enzo Maresca, Paddy.
No.
Gav.
No.
Brendan Rodgers.
Absolutely no.
See the thing with Brendan? No, I was about to say with Brendan, is that because we're emotionally charged about it, or are we thinking about it pragmatically? But I'm also saying to myself, there's no way to take the emotion out of rehiring Brendan Rodgers. It's unavoidable. The media would fucking make more hay out of it than what we would as fans. I think it's unavoidable the way that he left us, the manner that he left us. And I think because of that, he fucked it. Even if we rehired him, it would have a target on his back, There's just no way about it. So, sorry, Brendan Rodgers is a no. And
I think, I know I've just said yes or no, but even in tapping what you've said there, and I agree with that, I think Rodgers' recruitment for the most part, and I appreciate that Lee Congerton was there and it's now Mark Global, but his recruitment for the most part was absolute shite. Most of his success came with Ronnie Dyler's team. So that would probably be a no for me, but I'll get the Danny McGrain talk shite t-shirts printed just in case he does get appointed. Who else? Kevin Muscat.
No.
The only thing I know about him is he was Ange's number 2, and he was an ex-Rotten Mob player and a hatchet man. I don't know anything good about him, so no.
No. Yeah, Graham Potter.
Yes.
Yes.
Knutsen. I've got 2 more.
I'm allergic, mate. Sorry. No.
Knutsen.
Reluctantly, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I like nudes.
Yes.
Scott Brown.
Oh, no.
No.
And I have forgot my last one. Fuck, I had a good gin.
David Moyes?
I'll say David Moyes. I'm assuming it's got to be 2 no's, but it wasn't David Moyes I had in my head, but it's been fucking right out of my head. Oh, the Argentinian guy.
Gallardo.
Gallardo.
I couldn't even say I don't know. I genuinely don't know anything about him other than as a player.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him.
Nah, I'd say no. I don't think he speaks English. I think that'd be too big a fucking barrier.
Might get the best out of Bernabeu though.
I was going to say half the Celtic team doesn't speak English, so does it really matter?
See, the one thing I'm kind of suspicious about Knutsen. As I said already, he did really, really well in Europe, but since then, what has he done? I think we're basing that our favourable opinion of him on that game, on that European run. We haven't tracked him, his progress domestically and in Europe since then.
I think he lost the league last. I think he lost the league last season as well by an absolute mile. I think their league's maybe 9 or 10 games in. I think they're tapped and doing really well. But I agree with you. But the names it's mentioned, and as you say, we will. I dare say we will. Maresca and Muscat are somebody that's total left field. I think there will be some form of connection to the City group if that's the route we're going to go down. But Knutsen for me, as you say, we're basing it after the game against us. And just the fact that he's linked with fucking every job that seems to be going, be it Coventry or fucking Man City, he seems to be in the running for it anyway.
Aye, well, better than fucking Philip Schofield. Right, well, we've got a full summer ahead of us without any post-match reviews, so we will be doing the Tuesday TikTok every Tuesday, believe it or not. We'll also try and do a wee bit of other content if we can. Paddy, you spoke about the Patreon. We spoke about it about an hour ago, probably. But do you want to kind of just recap about the Patreon before we finish up for this evening? And by the way, to the viewers, thank you so much for viewing, for watching. If you've not done it already, hit the like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe, please. It means a lot to us. Hope you're all doing well. But Paddy, Patreon, tell us about it.
Aye, just again, obviously we will continue to be doing the YouTube stuff regularly, but we are going to be adding in on another platform. It's on the ticker bar at the bottom there. It's a subscription. That is a subscription. Won't tell you any lies, but it's not a big vast amount. It's less than the cost of a pint a month. And with that, you will get much more exclusive content, much more interaction for yourselves. I won't get too much away now, but there's a lot of exciting things that we're going to be doing. Any exclusives will be on there. There'll be daily blogs. There'll be access to the Discord server. So Discord is an app that you can get in and do the social stuff with, and it'll be exclusive to us, exclusive to use if you subscribe. So just a lot more stuff that we can't do on YouTube. There's obviously a lot of legal stuff and a lot of fucking crap that you can't do on YouTube. So it's something that we're trying to shift over to a wee bit for that reason, so that we can offer far more kind of expansive content. And as Charles Sweeney says there, I don't pay for any content, can't afford it presently. Very good. Charles, just to answer your comment, absolutely no issue, mate, and that's why we're going to be keeping the YouTube platform going, because we don't expect anything, but we do, as I say, we do put a lot of our own personal time in, a lot of effort, a lot of minutes fucking away for the kids and the families and whatnot. So if you can, a wee bit of support would go a long way. And if you can't, absolutely no pressure at all. We're always going to be here. We're going to be happy to have you in on the thingies. Aye, stop pointing at that, Gavin. I see it. Aye, so the ticker's at the bottom there. If you can, jump on, have a wee look. As I say, the next week there'll be a lot of updates and stuff like that coming. So aye, if you can, jump on. If you can't, no problems. We'll see you on the Tuesdays. And Robert Davey, it certainly won't be for the price of a pint in Dublin, mate. Trust me. Or Norway and all that. So.
No for the Temple Bar anyway, no.
Aye.
You didn't say
maybe for the Scuddies. I don't know.
Right. Anyway, we'll wrap it up, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Not the way that we wanted to finish the season off, but won a treble, lost a manager. But Celtic, somebody said it. Celtic have been gone for over 100 years. Ange's only been here for 2 years. We're a historical club. We move on. Ange was never going to define us as a club. He was just, a passing phase, a footnote in our history. Is there any percentage going to charity kids? If so, I'm in. Well, Paddy, you brought that comment up, so
I brought it up with a thumbs up. So yes, you can expect charitable contribution, of course, 100%.
Yeah. And if we do so, we'll be transparent about that. We won't just say we'll do it and fucking fob it off and hope you forget. So if we're going to do it, then we will actually tell you about it. So anyway, we'll be back next Tuesday for more Tuesday content. We'll see. Hopefully we've actually got good news in terms of the manager front. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. As I said already, hit the like, subscribe. To me, Paddy, James and McGinty, who's went off to whatever, do something else. Thank you very much. We'll see you next Tuesday. Good night. God bless.
Morning.